can't complain too much. I have there's been things on my mind, John. If I could take a minute to get it off my mind.
The vanguard will be there, sir.
Jayar Jackson, longtime producer over at the Young Turks. I think he has his own show too. Sometimes he'll pop up on various TYT productions. Always has. You know, this guy is as much of a hardcore TYT family member as anyone there besides Cenk and Anna. And like I said, even if you don't see him, you know, in front of the camera a lot, he's always been a presence as a producer behind the scenes. But before we take a look at his words, Zach, let's take a quick trip down memory lane and take a look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene said on the Young Turks main show about John Iadarola of the Damage Report, because this gets referenced by JR, and I feel like, you know, just in case anyone missed this, they should know the context. Oh, sure.
Okay, and finally, you once did, speaking of people, you know, us fighting back and forth, which we've done a lot. You once
I don't think I've ever fought with you. Have I ever fought back and forth with you? I don't think so.
No, overall with the network, right? Because you did do a mean tweet about Damage Report. That's John Iadarola's show. Okay.
I think they were trashing me earlier today. So,
I'm not, so you're still watching?
Oh yeah, I watch you guys. I watch all kinds of news. I'm not a Fox News viewer. I hardly watch Fox. I actually enjoy watching a lot of different news. I enjoy different perspectives and people's opinions.
All right, so you got a message for John Iadarola?
Tell him to be nice to me. He's never even met me.
Oh, be nice.
Okay, that's a tough ask, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
God, it's so cringe watching them like flirt. It's so fucking cringe, and no one in the TYT audience liked that. No one wanted that at all. And then just a few days later, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene took to X to post this. I strongly support Derek Chauvin being pardoned, released from prison. George Floyd died of a drug overdose. So again, reminding everyone who she actually is after putting on this fucking performance on TYT, trying to like soften her image. Maybe I'm a little bit more, you know, reasonable than you remember. Maybe I'm not so fucking cracked out and such a crazy person like you remember. Nope, right back to this crap. Just like a day after Cenk Uygur did that embarrassing performance.
Dude, this is why we have to do the show that we do, guys. Nobody else is going to do it. That's why Gavin and I have to do it. Did you not notice that Cenk, as Gavin described, participated in the laundering of the reputation of a out and confessed white nationalist? Okay, I don't care what she calls herself when she's smiling and nodding along like a grandma down south that's going to offer you some sweet tea and cookies. Okay, that's not who she is. But just because she's able to camouflage herself, just because she's able to sweet talk Cenk, a guy with a platform, somebody that she thinks she can use, and by God did she. She used him. She played him like a freaking fiddle, guys. It was humiliating for him. He did exactly what she wanted. He made her look sane. He made her look reasonable. He made it look like John Iadarola, who was the one that was doing his job as a progressive host. You guys know we've had disagreements with John Iadarola. Now it's time to give him his flowers, right? Because he actually cares about promoting a progressive message. He is the last straw, along with Jayar Jackson and Dr. Rashad Ritchie, that I can see that's actually holding court on TYT with their respective platforms. The main show is completely washed. Okay, there's nothing there anymore. So it's really, it falls on guys like John Iadarola, and I think he takes that responsibility seriously. I think he's like, guys, the Young Turks network was a progressive network, and as long as I'm here, this show, The Damage Report, is going to be a progressive show. I wish that he would show a little more of a spine. I think we're going to see JR show the spine that I would like to see everyone at the Young Turks show. But at least you have to give John his flowers and say he knows the assignment. He's not going to participate in the laundering of Marjorie Taylor Greene, guys. I mean, we're not even talking about a centrist fence sitter. Okay, like, oh, can we work with them as progressives? They are a little bit centrist. They're a little milquetoast. No, we are talking about our number one enemy. We had a great conversation with Kyle Kalinske the other day on the show where he was like, do not give these people an inch. They will never give it back to you. They will never give you any of the ground that you surrender to them back to you. They're never going to engage in good faith. They're never going to honor their agreements. They are always lying. They are always playing you. Think of them the way you would think of the wolf, the big bad wolf, if you're one of the three little pigs, okay? Because that is what it is. You have to be either your own wolf or you're going to get eaten alive. Do you understand? I'm trying to make a clumsy analogy here, but it's bullshit, and we need more people to call it out. Otherwise, they'll get away with it.
100%. And before we take a look at this clip of Jayar Jackson speaking with John Iadarola, let's take a look at the damage report numbers, because it's not like they're anything amazing necessarily, but I would say it's pretty telling that with 1/6 of the subscribers that the main TYT channel has, still doing better somehow. Like this clip got 89,000 views. This one got 98,000. That's higher than any of the recent videos that we looked at the other day on the TYT main channel. And again, this one cracked 127K. This one cracked 100K. TYT hasn't done that seemingly in like a while. So, you know, I think John definitely does have that loyal audience, unlike Cenk and Anna at this point. And I do continue to feel really bad for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at this, guys. I mean, like you said, John has a fraction of the subscribers. This is a channel with 6.07 million subscribers. And here, I'll go ahead and reset our frame back down to the box here. But you guys can see 3.9K views on their main show from yesterday. That's fucking paltry. 10K, 10K, 11K, 16K, 24K, all worse than John Iadarola. Why? Is John doing anything differently than the Young Turks? His thumbnails look pretty similar to theirs. His headlines, you know, for the most part, I would say tilt more progressive than theirs, but the way that they're branding themselves pretty similar. Oh, it's that he actually walks the walk as a progressive commentator. He's actually there to give you his real, honest, authentic take, and it's a progressive one. It is one about the left. It is one for harm reduction and solidarity and caring for your neighbors and uplifting others and taxing the 1% and not being a fraud and not laundering these people's reputation and not making them your friends and cuddling up to them and trying to get beers with them and trying to poach their audience, not so that you can challenge them, but so that you can become one of them, be a fish that swims in their pond instead, right? That's all John did. He just kept doing the exact same thing, okay? And I want you guys to see this over here. We might circle back to it if we have time, but this is what a channel with 6 million subscribers should be doing. These are the kind of numbers that they should be fetching, right? Look at Midas Touch, okay? A comparable channel in size, okay? Still over 1 million subs less than the Young Turks, okay? But this one, 15 minutes ago, 18,000 views. That'd be a good clip for the Young Turks, period, okay? You've got 100K, 250K, 214K, 500K. These are all within the last 14 hours, guys. Do you see how they are clobbering the kinds of numbers that you would see on the Young Turks, right? That's because they understand branding. That's because they understand how to find their own audience and stick to it, okay? Right? The Young Turks could have been the progressive, hardcore, left flank version of Midas Touch, which definitely leans centrist, definitely kind of, I would consider, falls under the umbrella of Democratic Party propaganda. I'm sorry. It's the truth, even if it's hard for you to swallow that. They could have been the progressive flank version of that if they'd given people an authentic message. They could have been like, we're the Hold the Line news show. Okay, we're the really we're going to be the progressives, and that's that. But instead, now they have no lane left at all.
Yep, 100%. That's a great point. And Kyle, you know, I think accurately pointed out that TYT could be getting those kind of numbers, Zach. They could be one of the top left-wing podcasts, but one of the top political podcasts in general, if they had just kind of stayed true to their original message, held strong with the same sort of energy that they were putting out in 2016 around the era of the first Trump administration. But instead, you know, we get Cenk flirting with Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? And laundering her reputation as she prepares to seek higher office and assume even more power over us. Zach, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy that this is the role a progressive news network is playing. But let's take a look at Jayar Jackson on John Iadarola's show, The Damage Report, where he actually brings up this kind of awkwardly. As you guys all know, you know, John Iadarola clearly does not want to talk about this. He hates it when it comes up. He hates, you know, when Francesca would bring this up back when she would come on The Damage Report, right? When Francesca was fired, he kind of awkwardly, you know, put out a tepid statement about it. But it was very clear that he didn't want to have to be discussing this. Once again, he's been forced to, and this time Jayar Jackson brings it up on his show. This is pretty awkward, but I'm really glad that Jayar said this.
Let's take a look.
Can't complain too much. I have there's been things on my mind, John. If I could take a minute to get it off my mind. I saw you respond to something that went down on this network. I saw you respond to a lady that asked you to be kind to her. Am I right?
Yes, I did.
While I enjoyed your answer, I feel like there needs to be at least more of a clarification as to why. You gave a great answer. I love it.
Okay.
But when someone comes on a network to sanitize themselves and sanitize their character and their brand and who they are, because it's obvious that they're looking for a Senate run to enhance their power and have more reach within the government, maybe make even a little bit more money. I think it's important to point out of who these people always were, and because if they have something that they finally say that makes some sense, like maybe we shouldn't be continuing to assault and fight all these foreign wars and killing innocent people on an indiscriminate level. It's like we're doing in Gaza. So if you're against these types of things, I think it's important to point out that you should stop doing the things that you've done before. Maybe stop supporting the people that are doing the things that you're all about. Because if we begin to allow people to then make themselves be normalized within our society, the things that are absolutely abnormal about them become normalized too. So if we accept someone saying, I'm against foreign wars too, and then we accept that they're still against women's rights, they're still white nationalists, that they still say that we should have a white nationalist country, that becomes normalized, am I right? If someone who still says, I still support Doge and this guy Elon Musk and he's firing all these veterans and people working.
And the thing I'll add to JR, who's making a great point, I think sanitized is a great way to put what Cenk was doing. He was sanitizing Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because I don't know for sure, guys, but the vibe I got from when we watched it live was that he had promised Marjorie Taylor Greene and her comms team that if she did agree to come on the network, it would be a friendly, right? They would talk about the things that they agreed on.
Yep.
He agreed before she came on the network for the interview that he wasn't going to challenge her, that any pushback would be a friendly follow-up, that they were going to prioritize the things that they agreed on. Well, that's a win-win situation for Marjorie Taylor Greene, because do you know what she's going to come on and do? She's going to make him agree with a bunch of shit that she's going to give Donald Trump credit for, right? And then whenever he tries to say, no, that's actually not true, it's this other thing, she's going to act all flustered and force him to reel it back in and start kissing her ass again, right? And start talking about, oh, I'm unfamiliar with those details, I can't comment on it, start to clam up, give him a shitty interview. Cenk's desperate, so he starts to flirt with her some more, try and open her back up by giving her some more, oh, I also agree with you that the Democrats are horrible about this, X, Y, and Z. Again, he plays right in to Marjorie's trap, and he doesn't even bother to point out the obvious hypocrisy that she was supporting Donald Trump's $1 trillion military budget at a time when she claims to be anti-war.
Yep, 100%. No, it was total propaganda for her. And it was also just a betrayal of his own audience because it wasn't entertaining content. No one in his audience enjoyed that at all. It wasn't a spicy debate. It wasn't a clash of ideology. No, it was just like a boring fluff piece. And then a day later, she's tweeting about how Derek Chauvin should be free. And yeah, basically, I mean, the modern day version of like, you know, Emmett Till wasn't murdered. He was asking for it or something. Like, that's what she's doing. That's what she does. She's a fucking Christian nationalist. She brags about it. Right. But, you know, that didn't stop Cenk from giving her the friendly, as you put it.
Yep. And one last thing, it doesn't even matter if what she's saying is true. She knows that it's actually against the law for Donald Trump to intervene and pardon Derek Chauvin, right? Because what people don't understand is he is serving his terms consecutively, which means that he's serving 25 years to life for his federal crime, which Donald Trump could feasibly pardon him for, but he would still be held in state penitentiary for 25 years. So if the pardon does come down, it's likely that Chauvin won't get out of jail. It would just be like red meat to Donald Trump's racist ass base, which would be devastating and horrible and wrong and all of those things. But it's still very unlikely that he would ever get out of prison. And there's a lot of people in Minnesota government that have come out recently and clarified that they will fight tooth and fucking nail to make sure that that never ever happens.
This guy Elon Musk, and he's firing all these veterans and people working in cancer research and actual disease care in our country that actually kills people. Maybe we shouldn't support them. Maybe we shouldn't allow them to sanitize who they are in our faces and act like it's all normal. I just think if you're gonna have someone say something funny that makes some sense, at least ask them to not say the things that don't make absolutely any sense. Because as we become, you know, just normalized to these things that maybe other folks weren't paying attention to because we're these wonky nerds within the political sphere and we talk about this every day. There's so many people who aren't. that when they first get introduced to someone who's trying to sanitize their image and their character and who they really are and how they dismiss school shootings from elementary to high school to college shootings that continue to happen on a daily basis, if we get to normalizing those things, those policies become normalized. We have an incompetent government full of a bunch of people who are white nationalists, who do want these types of policies as our norm. So in order to stop these things from being the norm, if we're still fighting that fight, I think it's important to point out who these people are and whether or not they're really being authentic. So yeah, if Marjorie Taylor Greene wants someone to be kind to her and stop being mean, maybe she should stop following policies from someone who literally has his right-hand man talking about suspending habeas corpus, continuing to push ICE agents to go up in people's homes and rip a 16-year-old girl from a little baby's arms and slam them on the ground and then charge them with a crime. I think those things need to be highlighted just as much we'll highlight someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, I'm against these types of words. I'm willing to hold up this legislation that would criminalize people from protesting. What about people in, say, NYU and Columbia? I forget which school it was, where they're not gonna be allowed to take their final exams because they're protesting. How far does the pushback on the
Oh yeah, or how about the individual that's had their NYU graduate degree or their degree for graduating withheld by the university because they, called the Free Palestine during their graduation speech? Like, this is one of the elite members of this college having their graduating documents withheld from them to try and punish them and make it so that they can't get a job and blackball them into the future for exercising their right to stand up for Palestine, right? These are the people that we're fighting against, right? They're all in the same boat. We talked about it the other day. Marjorie Taylor Greene made a massive donation to Temple University to, do research in Israel. That was very,
It was the Temple Institute. Is that the same thing?
Oh, sorry. I don't know if that's the same
either.
thing. Either way, I don't want to be slammed. I know that's actually like a good accredited university. I just meant they were going to do a bunch of digging in Israel to try and justify the Zionist state there. Not that would implicate everybody that goes to Temple or is involved with that, but I just meant, it was the Temple Institute. You're right. I don't know.
Yeah, this is not related.
Not related to Temple University. That's my bad. Correction. Temple Institute. Either way,
anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, long story short, Marjorie Taylor Greene gave a bunch of money to them to kind of paper over the fact that she'd been extremely anti-Semitic online before her congressional run, right? And talked about how much she loved Israel and talked about, right? Then she'll turn around and talk about how, now I'm anti-BDS. No, she's not. She's trying to play you guys, right? Because she was participating in this elaborate ruse that we talked about and we forecast here on our very podcast, right? What was she doing? She was going around and pretending like Donald Trump was actually going to negotiate a peace deal in Iran. She was going around pretending like Donald Trump was actually going to negotiate some sort of a ceasefire agreement, some sort of a sovereignty agreement for the US to oversee Palestine, right? And it was all a tremendous ruse, right? We talked about it with Kyle. Kyle was on our show 3 days ago being like, guys, I know it's devastating. Please don't fall for this. Don't fall for the Witkoff stuff. Don't fall for the Donald Trump is going to negotiate something, because they're all liars, right? They're all liars. They're all going to pull the rug out from underneath you. Marjorie Taylor Greene was simply playing her role in that entire charade, in that entire pageant that they were running for the entire people, right? To dupe them, right? She was being the one that was like, no, trust me, Donald Trump is secretly anti-war. It was, and Donald Trump got away with it because of people like her and because of people like Cenk who were willing to play along and give into her game, basically.
protesting? How far does the pushback on the protests go? Is it brown people only? Or is it some, since we have other folks that begin to protest that as well? I just want to point out that if we're going to sanitize someone's image or allow them to try to sanitize it, that they should sanitize the whole damn thing, or else they're still filthy. We can start with the show now. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to. I think you covered pretty much everything. I think that's a lot of the issues I would want. So there you go. Yeah, if you want to be sanitized.
That's kind of a funny response too from John, who again, I feel bad for. Clearly he's walking a thin line here. He wants to save his channel that he's worked really hard to build up, and the Damage Report is a brand that he should be proud of. But Jesus Christ, I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, that's how you, when you're live on air, tell your co-host that you're pretty unhappy with what they just fucking did right there. You're like, well, I don't even know if we need to even do the show, because you clearly have a mind of your own and you're willing to take this in whatever direction you want to today. Well, why do we even need to keep going? Like, clearly he's letting JR know, like, all right, bro, like, damn, like, you are fucking my shit up now. Like, I'm gonna hear about this.
Yeah.
And what I like about JR is he clearly doesn't care. And I didn't know a ton about this dude because he hadn't been featured on a lot of the TYT content I'd been exposed to. But then I did my homework, and he's been one of the main dudes at TYT for a long time.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
you know, he probably feels a sense of duty to use what platform he does have with a lot of audience watching to be like, no, dude, I do not agree with this. Like, this is almost like his life's work. I mean, I think I saw videos from like 15 years ago that this dude was involved in.
Oh yeah, he's been a long time member of the TYT family. Like I said, basically going back as far as anyone besides Cenk and Anna, he's been behind the scenes. Plus, he has his own show, Watchlist, a channel with over 1 million subscribers itself. So,
oh shit, I had no idea.
Yeah, so he's kind of in the same situation that John is in, where it's like, you know, he definitely is pissed off behind the scenes at Cenk and Anna, but he's also probably like, fuck, I want to save my own channel. I want to save my own brand. I don't want to have to relinquish that and give up all my subs if I split off from TYT, which again is a pretty gnarly situation to be in. Imagine you have a channel with over 1 million subscribers and a brand that you've built up on your own over the years. But now all of that's in jeopardy if you speak the truth and if you stand up to your boss, as JR is doing, to his credit. You know, it's very courageous under those circumstances with that context. So, you know, let's take a look and see if John Iadarola has anything more valuable to contribute than that. And let's hear that one more time, just because, again, that was kind of funny.
We can start with the show now. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to. I think you covered pretty much everything. That's a lot of the issues I would want. So there you go. Yeah, if you want to be sanitized, be sanitary. Stop being terrible. And you're right. Like at the day, I don't know, a day or two or three after that initial response, like I updated people on what she had been doing since she called for me to be nicer. It's terrible. It's terrible. And the amazing thing is, like, it would be so easy for Marge to not be as terrible as she is because she could just stop actively being terrible. There's no requirement. There's no biological obligation inside of, you know, Marjorie Green to do and say the things that she does. She chooses to do those things, and she should stop doing those things. And you're right. Like, you know, if you're gonna talk about Iran or whatever, like, she still supports Donald Trump, still supports the Republican Party. So anyway, but yeah, no, I'm thank you for your perspective, and I can see a lot of people loving what you're saying, preach JR and that sort of thing.
I didn't necessarily plan that, but
we bring you on.
It's been on my mind, and it's kept me up, man. It's kept me up at night.
Bro, don't apologize. JR's 100% in the right here. He is doing the morally correct thing. He's taking advantage of the platform, and I doubt that, you know, at any point in his time at TYT that he thought that he would have to come out here and kind of admonish the main hosts for collaborating, sanitizing, as he put it, Marjorie Taylor Greene's reputation at a time when Donald Trump is doing irreparable harm to our country, and she is his #1 cheerleader.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I think there's a few more seconds here.
Yeah,
sometimes I like to sleep.
Well, no, but I don't know if you know, but and we'll talk about it at the very beginning of the aftermath. There's at least sort of a good, you know, update to that story. So we do have that for you coming up soon. In any event, everyone, thank you for being here. Because we covered most of the politics, I think we'll.
Yeah, so that's it. And again, shout out to the viewer that sent us that. I asked them if they wanted to be shouted out by name. Haven't heard back yet. So for now, going to keep that individual anonymous, but do really appreciate that, because we would have missed that clip of JR speaking the truth if it weren't for that viewer sending us that clip. So again, shout out to them. And obviously any of you guys watching, if you want to send us, you know, clips or tips or, you know, spicy scoops, feel free to. It really helps us out. And sometimes we miss things too, even though we're always watching for stuff like this. So really appreciate that viewer, and really appreciate JR for, again, standing up to Cenk in a pretty impressive way. And really, you know, putting that in words that clearly John Iadarola is not capable of. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, I think that the house of cards is starting to really fall down for Cenk. You know what I mean? I think he's got 1 or 2 Jenga pieces left, but when they get yanked out, the entire TYT network will just collapse in on itself.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The vanguard will be there, sir. The vanguard will be there, sir. The